I'm going to put my contact info. Can we see that? Is that too light? Can you see how this one's? How much time do I have, Brenda?
You have until 6 o'clock.
Oh, awesome. Oh, nice. Facebook. Now there's a lot of premises. The tool itself is very simple. There's a lot of premises though that I won't get to go over today. That my full class is 6 hours, so I'll be compacting a lot of that into the next hour. So feel free. I'm gonna put my information up here. So if there are any premises that we're gonna kind of skim over that you deserve clarity on, later, then feel free to Facebook me or email. So just look for Zoe Peacemaker on Facebook. And Zoe the Peacemaker. At Yahoo. And I'm going to probably have to erase this somewhere halfway through, so the sooner you get it, the better. So like I was saying, I'm not going to come in and tell anybody how to live their lives. That's the first thing I just make really clear off the top. What I noticed as I wrote this book, I wrote a 300-page book called The Process. It's volume 1, and it basically shows us that there's a singularity in events. So we all have these events in our lives that create negative energy at some point, and sometimes they're little and sometimes they're big. And they range in all different ways. We have all different lifestyles, all different beliefs and ideas and traditions. And in this day and age, there's so much advice coming from different places, right? We have our friends and our family, and now we have, the New Age spiritual movement, and we have church, and we have ourselves, and it's like, there's not always a clear voice in all of those to listen to. And so what this does is basically gives you a sound foundation to make decisions from. And we start off with negative energy because that's a singularity. Everybody in the world has had a bad day, right? At least one? No? Not you? She's it. She's our next coach. Okay, so have you ever stubbed your toe in the morning and then progressively seen the rest of your day go downhill? Anybody? Yeah, or you drop your cell phone in the toilet or something, right? And that's just the beginning, right? And so what is the first thought when that happens? It's, oh man, better not be one of those days, right? Okay, so here we are. I'm going to call this energetic awareness, okay? Because I had a whole plan before I got here, and then I saw the presentation, and then it all changed right then and there. Okay? Okay, so you wake up, you're doing fine. You stub your toe, and all of a sudden, you're in a bad mood. Well, the reason why we've all seen this happen over and over again is because we're constantly putting out a vibration. All things in the universe vibrate on an atomic level, and they all have different frequencies, and there's positive and negative frequencies, right? So when you get yourself into a space of negativity, according to the law of attraction, you will attract negative circumstances, negative people, and basically spiral down, right? Because all you have to do is put out that vibe, something else affirms it, it gets worse, something else affirms it, it gets worse, okay? Well, notice that when things are good, things are great, right? It's feast or famine. My job's going well, my relationships are doing well, I just won the lottery, who knows? But it's because of that same physical property is happening, whether it's positive or negative. You're constantly putting out this vibration. Well, one thing that kind of hit me is that as healers, as caregivers, this is also very noticeable on your floors. I could tell, I can pick out from a mile away who's in a good or a bad mood. And I noticed that saying, it says attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. This is the mechanical explanation of that. This is why. So, would you like to know how to turn a bad day into a good day no matter what? Yeah? Okay. This is your Christmas present, because once you learn this, you'll know it forever. And the actual process itself, learning it takes about an hour. But the actual process, when you'll do it from day to day, takes 2 minutes. There's 24 hours in a day. Is it worth to you a piece of paper and a couple of minutes to turn that around so you don't spiral? Yeah. Okay. So first off, we're going to start off with some rules, okay? And you can apply these to your life if you want, but these are really just designed to be rules for this tool, okay?
So I'll switch to the blue, that's not showing up.
It's not showing up? Okay. Thank you. Look at that handwriting. I could have been a doctor. Okay. All right. Rule number 1 of the process. The right to feel. This is a very freeing rule for a lot of people. Depending on who or where you were raised. We're in parts of society, and at least where I grew up, I wasn't, as a man, I'm not allowed to cry. Okay? We're not allowed to be depressed. We're not allowed to be angry. We're not allowed to do a lot of things. Right? But who put that rule up? Us or other people? Right? It's kind of a pressure from it's an external idea. I have the right to feel whatever way that I feel. I allow myself to feel that way. If I am happy and I'm excited and it annoys you, that's okay with me. If I just don't feel well right now, I don't stuff it, I don't mask it, I don't tell you that everything's fine. What I do say is that I'm processing, and I say I'm allowing myself to feel frustrated right now. But I'm processing it, and as soon as I can create a space for positivity, I'll arrive there at the perfect time. Okay? So I don't dwell in it, but I also don't deny it. How many times have you heard, just get over it, or ignore it, or just be positive? That doesn't solve the problem. All it does is deny what's actually there. Because when I'm in a bad mood, I myself am not a negative person. But my body tells me when I'm in the presence of negative energy, whether it's yours or mine. Have you ever gotten that vibe when you go to another person's house or you're around somebody who hasn't even said anything to you, but you can feel that energy, yeah? Right? The vibe, I don't like, that's a common terminology. I don't like their vibe, okay? That's vibration. By managing our vibration, we're managing the actual conditions of our lives. So what we do is we allow ourselves to feel, but rule number 2, we shift before we act. Okay, and the word act entails speaking, making life-changing decisions, What are some other ways that we engage physically with people?
Conversation.
Okay, conversation, gossip, right? Or praise, right? What this means is that I allow myself to feel whatever it is I feel. But if I'm in a space of negativity, I do not act, because that carries out the negative energy into my physical world. So before I speak to you, or before I go make a decision, or before I do anything, I give myself a couple of minutes, I do this process, and then I come back and I engage. Okay, this isn't a license to stop engaging in your life. I engage, but I do it from a space of positivity. Okay? Rule number 3. Can't change people, can't change the past. How many of you tried to change your boyfriend? Is it working for you? Or girlfriend? Let's not be classic, let's not. Okay. Can't change people, can't change the past. This is just to relieve you of that stress. Okay? It's just a tool to relieve us of the constant battle inside of ourselves to want to do this. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. Okay? Everybody's perfect the way that they are. It may not be the way you like it, and you may not agree with it. But everybody's on their own perfect journey. And now, it doesn't mean that we don't reach out to them. We still reach out to them. This is the way I reach out to people, is by teaching this. But I don't go into anybody's lives and say, well, you got to stop doing this, this, and this. All I say is, well, you have the right to feel and you have the right to act. But know that when you act from a space of negativity, be educated and know that you're only going to create more of that. Okay? So relieve yourself of this duty. Let's see. Events are only events. A car wreck is not punishment. Okay? Dropping my cell phone in the toilet is not punishment. Getting in an argument with somebody is not punishment. Those are all just events. They're just conditions of being alive on this planet, in this dimension. The universe was not created to punish us. It's a school. These are all learning experiences, yeah? I mean, how many of us have learned our greatest lessons from the worst scenarios? Yeah, yes. You got a hand. That was beautiful. Thank you for interacting. 5. Now, I've been using the words positive and negative energy because I'm keeping it left brain as possible. So I'm going to delve into the emotional side a little bit. And the parallel to positive and negative energy, if you haven't heard, is love or fear. Okay, so am I engaging from love or fear? Okay, and so I ask myself that before I do anything. Before I pump my gas, before I talk to my girlfriend, before I go to work, before I get into traffic, before I buy stocks. Because the only thing that I can create from fear is more fear. The only thing I can create from love is more love. So I ask myself, from or neg. Or in other words, love or fear. What was one of the best revelations I ever had, I used to be a pro snowboarder. What I learned right away is that if I went off of a jump and I had even a smidgen of fear, it manifested instantly in me tumbling down the other side in pieces and rolling and wrecking and smashing my body. And then I would come to see you guys. But when I was in absolute space of love, or in other words, there's different frequencies, okay, of this vibration I talked about. Is courage a factor of love or fear?
Love.
Is worry love or fear?
Fear.
Is inspiration love or fear?
Love.
Is anger love or fear?
Fear.
Somebody call out another emotion. Anything. What about mistrust? What is that? And trust is? So if I went off a jump with courage, inspiration, and trust, it didn't matter what I did, I always landed on my feet. But if I had even a smidgen of one of these, I'd end up in a place like this. It's very, very simple. Doesn't matter what walk of life you come from, we all end up in one of these places. We're all linked. We're all experiencing the same thing. We're having different events, but we're all attaching some sort of negativity to either an event that's happening or an event that has happened. And in such an important part of the industry, where you guys are healers and you have all these specs that you have to pay attention to and remember and stay clear and balance your family lives and all these things, I would think that your performance would only be benefited by operating from this space. Yeah? Because we've all made mistakes. Well, what are we going to attract if we focus on the fact that we've made mistakes, other than more mistakes? And this is important in your work life. This is important in your home life. I lived most of my life in this space. Now, after doing this program for about 3 years, I developed it without a coach, and it wasn't as efficient as it is now. But without any guidance, I turned my life around, and now this is what I do for a living. And this is all I see, is I see amazing people getting bogged down by stuff that's not even happening anymore. It happened 1, 2, 3 months ago, 5 years ago, and they just punish themselves over and over and over again. You know, we're the only species that pays for our mistakes more than once. Because an animal steps in a bear trap or sits on a cactus or something, he says ow, and he heals and he moves on. He doesn't sit in a cave year after year being like, man, I'm an idiot. I can't believe I stepped in that bear trap. Oh my goodness, what are the other coyotes going to think? This is what we do.
Another question.
Yeah.
Which one of those would sadness come under? Can you put sad in both?
Sadness for me, this is up to you, but sadness for me would be the loss of, like say I was sad that somebody left, it would be the fear that they're not coming back. You know, like missing somebody for me.
Sadness could also be in love then, right?
How so?
Somebody died.
If somebody dies, that would fall under fear. Because we can love the memory of that person anyway. We love, it doesn't change the fact that we love that person. We'll miss that they'll be here, and there's some sort of fear that we're not going to see them again, and that's where
Sadness is always in fear.
pretty much. Judgment, where does that fall under?
Fear.
Yeah? So this is where a lot of stress is created, right here. The second we get into judgment of ourselves or other people, that little sign above our head goes into the negative zone. We send out that vibration, and what do we attract? More judgment. Okay? So we have all this? Those are our rules. So if somehow an event still causes us to go into a negative space and it makes it through all of our rules, okay, you want to start a new piece of paper for this. Because this is going to be your template, okay? So here's your piece of paper. And you're going to put the word time, not the actual time right now. You're going to put the word time, date, and location. Okay? These pads of paper are going to be your journals. They're going to be your log. Okay? You might even want to put the word template here. Because by giving you this template, I free you of having to call me at 3 in the morning. Actually, I free myself. Of having to call me at 3 in the morning and be like, Zoe, how did that go again? And I'll say, where's your template? Good night. Okay. So in this space right here, you're going to put the words, just right here. You're going to put the word event, energy, energy, event. Okay? There's a couple steps past this, but to keep this simple, this is all you need. This is the formula right here. And we classify events as PSDs, okay? And I'll explain to you what a PSD is. So right there, draw a couple of lines. Oh wait, you did your rules on another thing. Okay, I usually break them up into little things like this. Okay, so in this part, I want you to write the word problems. Underneath it, I want you to write issues. I want you to write mistakes. Failures. Blocks. Just getting the gist of that list? It's so not awesome, is it? That's pretty much how I classify everything in my life, awesome or not awesome. It's not awesome now, but watch what we do with it. Has everybody in the world had these? Even multimillionaires? Even highly successful, happy people with perfect marriages and perfect lives and all the answers? Weird. Wow, maybe they're not better than us. Maybe we all have something to learn. Maybe that's why they're here. Because if I didn't have these, what would I do? I'd be golfing all day. I wouldn't learn anything. Right? So, we're going to contain these. Okay? And from now on, you're never going to have these again. How does that sound? Cool? Is that awesome? Awesome. Sure. All right. Because what they're going to be from here on out are called PSDs, which are possible points of self-discovery. I got a flat tire, and I discovered about myself that I know how to change tires now. I had a business go under in 2008, and I found out that I can recover from $100,000 in debt. I was divorced in 2004, and I discovered about myself that I can still create a peaceful relationship with the mother of my child, even though we don't live in the same house. What I'm saying is that no matter what, you can still find happiness. No matter how many bad choices you made, trust me. If I can be happy, anybody can. So, no matter how angry you are in the moment, or how frustrated or unclear or doubtful or scared, can you find a possibility for a solution? Yes or no? Yeah, there's always a possibility, isn't there? Is it possible there's something to learn? Absolutely. But do we go to that space when these come up? A lot of time, no. We go to poor me. We go to, okay, I guess the rest of my day is going to go like this. We go to, well, I shouldn't even try anymore. I'm just going to give up. But just by stating that I have something, maybe there's something to learn here, and maybe that there's a solution, you have shifted the energy from negative to positive in that very moment. Just from exercising the possibility. Okay? And you can just put all that stuff here, the first degree. The reason why I work in degrees is that I've done some other programs that are, let's call them abrasive. Let's call them effective in very short amounts of time. And not everybody is accustomed to that. Not everybody is ready to do that. By working in degrees, you can change your point of view of anything, even if it's just to the left a little bit. And the amount of change that you're experiencing right now is very minuscule in a short amount of time. But over time, it gets broader and broader. And it's sustainable. Because what happens a lot of times is that people go to these self-help seminars and they get all hyped up and they feel all great, and then they go back into their lives, and after day 3, day 2, day 1, they go back to their old ways. That's because there's been this drastic amount of change without any subconscious programming or full understanding of what's happening. So I work in very gentle but effective ways. Okay, so you got all this? So this is your template, okay? So this is our first degree of shift. Our second degree of shift is fun. This is called purge and past tense. Okay? So as far as affirmations go, I used affirmations to change my life. But they took a long time because every time I would state one that was basically canned or given to me by an outside source, they didn't pertain to me in this moment. So basically I looked in the mirror and I just started lying to myself, and I'm like, okay, this is how I'm supposed to change my life? If I state, is everybody familiar with affirmations? Yeah? So if I state that I'm wealthy but there's nothing in my account, I'm just lying to myself, right? I can get my subconscious to agree with it over time, but if I don't believe it, I'm not going to affirm it, okay? So, it's very important with every affirmation, it's very important to realize what we're presencing, okay? So subconscious basically says yes to whatever it is I say. So if I say I'm hurt, if I say I'm tired, if I say I'm sad, it just affirms it. But if I say that I'm working towards a better space right now, maybe I'm not where I want to be, it just affirms it. So anytime that we state that I'm in a negative space, we put it in the past tense, okay? And we still give ourselves the right to feel, okay? So you're going to start this every time with up until now, I have allowed myself to feel. Because this is a true statement, right? I'm not just saying I'm being positive, I'm saying up until now I've allowed myself to feel maybe a little overwhelmed. Because you guys have an overwhelming job. Okay? And then we're going to go into purging, right? You all know what purging is we're going to let it all out, okay? So I'm going to give you the overview, and then we're going to go in, and we're actually going to do this, and we're actually going to process something today. Every one of us is going to process their own thing in your, just on your piece of paper. You won't have to share them, but we're all going to process something. We're all going to see it work. We're all going to get something out of this today. Okay? Third, this is positive and present. And this is going to be the opposite. Remember, affirmations don't work if they weren't made by me. If somebody hands me one, yeah, maybe 1 in 10. But when I create it for my situation, it's a completely different effect. 4, this is going to be called your checkpoint. This is literally your day turning around, right here. Okay, we're all caught up? Yes? Okay. All right, so let's see this in action. We're going to list some PSDs. Okay? And if anybody would like to share, are there any things that happened today or this week that you allowed yourself to feel negative about?
Doing bad on a test.
What's that?
Doing bad on a test.
Okay. So you did bad on a test. Well, and remember, events are just events, right? So it really was just a test. Okay? Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being courageous enough to admit that. That's love. See, she's already getting it. Okay, how about some other things?
Disciplinary processes for employees.
Okay, having to discipline our employees, right? Not so fun. Okay, so we keep these very factual, okay? Because we'll get to the emotion next. Yes?
I got a ticket.
You got a ticket?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the worst. That's the worst, right? What'd you do?
I
Never.
passed a school bus, but it was the yellow lights, and he said it was the red lights. I don't know if I did.
No, nice. Well, you can use this when you go to court, okay?
Okay.
Anything else? We good?
Health issues. We deal with people that, I talked to a guy that was a former college basketball coach, and he said, I expected myself to be healthy all my life, you know. And he's had cancer, and he's had all sorts of different problems. He was in the hospital again for something unrelated to cancer.
Absolutely.
But how do you turn that around?
Yeah, exactly. It's a good question. We're going to put cancer. That one takes time. But is it possible? Have people has cancer gone into remission before? Absolutely. Now, I'm not going to make any claims that the FDA can hold me to or anything. But my guess is that fear was never the cure. Okay. Okay. So, this is where it gets fun. How many times do we vent and we feel better about it? How many times do we vent and we don't feel better about it, right? Yeah, a few seconds. Well, what this is going to do is this is going to give you the license to vent, okay? You have the license to complain. It's the only requirement that you must have to do this tool. This is why anybody in the world can do it. Okay, you get to feel whatever it is you feel about this. And even if you feel immature, and even if you feel judgmental and small and stupid, whatever it is, just be real about it. And just write it down on a piece of paper instead of blurt it out to all your coworkers, friends, and family where it can infect them and spread into the world. Is that fair? Okay, so you're going to express yourself, but you're going to contain it within this little block of paper. Okay? So, how did you allow yourself to feel about that test afterwards in a negative way?
Crappy.
Okay, so this is our second degree. Okay, and we're going to state up until now, so verbalize. Up until now, I've allowed myself to feel.
Like a failure.
Oh, no, you got to say the whole thing.
Oh, up until now, I've allowed myself to feel like
Great.
a failure.
Okay.
Inadequate. Anybody else?
Are you writing it down? Write it down. So you felt like a failure. Now, everybody else, if you don't have one of these, or if you're not dealing with one of these, put your own PSD down. Put your own event, okay? Something that's been bothering you, something that keeps you up at night, something that you swear you've forgiven somebody for and it's bothering you still, okay? So your PSD is your own. Fill in your own right here. And this is basically the format that I use, is that, you know, I do my date, time, location, I write PSD, and then I write the title, okay? And then I write the actual event or PSD. This way when I go back and look through them, this is like, I call this, for me, I call it spiritual accounting. Because we go through so many breakthroughs. We overcome so many things in our lives and have done so to be here, yet we forget them. We negate them. There's no scar for happiness. You know? We seem to forget all of our triumphs, but the scars plague us. And that's what this tool is here to do, is to heal those. So we can operate from a space of awesomeness. Okay? Let's see, up until now, I've allowed myself to feel, and just go for it. What else have you allowed yourself to feel?
Inadequacy.
Okay. Inadequacy. Let's see, I failed some tests. How I allowed myself to feel was stupid. And I've allowed myself to feel frustrated.
Depressed.
Yeah, depressed. Now you're getting it. See how I'm excited about negative energy?
Angry?
Angry. I do. I get excited every time am I going to screw up at IHC tomorrow? I thought, well, if I do, it'll be a great PSD. Be something to learn. So I, basically don't have to live in fear. So depressed, angry.
I think it's unfair.
Unfair, okay. So unfair. I could feel victimized, right? I'd be like, that teacher gave us this pop quiz just because she don't like me.
Mistreated?
Mistreated, okay. Now on some of the other PSDs that we had before, What are some other things that we're feeling about that? What did we have? We had the traffic ticket, right?
Pretty much all of that.
Okay, interesting, huh? What else did we have?
Time to work when that happened? No.
I was on my way home from work.
Uh-huh.
It's even worse, I was tired.
Right.
Worried about now your insurance is gonna go up.
Okay, so basically fear, worry, you know, and then you start worrying about the money, so scarcity could be an issue.
Cheated.
Cheated.
Yellow, not red.
Fear of retaliation if you fight the ticket.
There you go, okay. Resistance, retaliation. Okay. Now notice with all of our different PSDs, events are just events. The energy is what we assign to it. The energy is a singularity, yeah? It's crazy. So that's half the battle, because it's like, great, a lot of people can do this without my help, without Zoe's help. They can say, yeah, this is what happened, I'm accountable, this is how I feel, but now what? And that's where, this is where I come in. This is my job in life, this is my life purpose, is to show people the now what part. Okay? Now, what I recommend is to just keep going. Like if you fill up a whole page or two, it's just paper. No big deal. Won't cost you anything, won't take more than a couple of minutes of your time. Okay? The more you get out, the more that you can identify and transmute and let go of, basically. Okay? So the third degree, right? So we have energy, which is obviously our negative. Okay, that's our positive and that's our negative. One thing that I like to put at the end of this is, up until now I've allowed myself to feel all of these things. I don't ever verbalize them. And I release myself from this energy now. And I release myself from this energy now. Does that feel good just to hear? Right? I love that. Okay. So here's where it gets awesome. Now, if I were to just state in the present, I'm the opposite of these things, there's clearly a conflict of interest, right? Clearly a conflict of what I'm saying and feeling. However, can I create a space for solution and arrive there at the perfect time? For example, have you ever had a problem before and solved it before in your life? Yeah? What's happening is you may not know what the solution is in that moment, and it may not look the way that you want it to, and it may not be there when you want it to, but it does show up. Every problem has a solution. Every PSD has a solution. And if we're stuck in this, then the solution doesn't show up for a lot longer than it could. Okay? But if we create a space for a solution, by being aware of that, we arrive at it sometimes instantly. For me, a lot of the time it's instantly, because I've practiced doing this. For a lot of people, it can take a couple hours, it can even be a day. But do you want to be stuck in this for the next 5 years, or do you want to be on your way to the solution? Right? Okay, so we start this with, I create the space for, okay, what is the opposite of failure?
Success.
Cool. And I cross these out as I go through, because this has taught me what I need to learn. What is the opposite of inadequacy?
Enough.
Being
Wholeness.
enough. Wholeness, okay. It's the opposite of stupid.
Intelligent.
Intelligent. And if you come up with more than one positive, I spelled intelligent with an I. Intelligent. If you come up with more than one, go ahead, put it down, okay? Intelligent, smart, witty, whatever. Okay? It's the opposite of frustrated. Calm. Peace. Okay, the opposite of depression is joy. Could be also calm and peace.
Happiness.
Happiness. Oh wait, did I do that again? Yeah. I had a vinyl cutter and I used to put these quotes on my wall. And Wayne Dyer has this quote and it says, "There is no way to happiness, happiness is the way." But I spelled it with one P. So it said happiness on it. And I almost changed it, but because it made me laugh, it put me in a space of happiness, I left it up. So don't take yourself too seriously, okay? Okay, so we see what we're doing here. Opposite of unfair is just. Okay, and so keep going through your list of your negative energy words and just create the antithesis of those, okay? And I know it sounds weird that you can just, that it's this simple, that you can just take out a piece of paper. But I challenge you to do this 3 times this week, either after work or in the morning before you go to breakfast or in the middle of your day, and prove me wrong. And send me the email. Because our success rate for this is above 97%. Okay, so when you get done, okay, leave, and I release this for myself now. When you get done with this, you write, "And I arrive at this space at the perfect time," okay? I arrive at this space at the perfect time. So not necessarily when I want to, and it may not always look the way that I want it to, but the solution always comes. Especially if you consciously create it. Now, this is where we get into mechanics, get into, I guess, the physics of it, right? Energy cannot be created nor destroyed, it can only be transformed. Right? You can't destroy this energy. This energy is in this universe for a reason. Okay? We can't destroy it. We can't avoid it because we've already determined that even the most successful, rich, happy, powerful people still have PTSDs and they still find themselves in this space. And the world is it not full of negativity right now with war and everything else? So if we can't get rid of it, then we must transmute it. We can literally change the nature of it into something useful. Because even if you don't believe this, which one makes more sense to operate from a logical space? Right? Okay. Also, because energy cannot be created nor destroyed, I don't really create anything other than space. Because all the materials of the universe that create my solutions and the people around me and the hospital I work in and stuff, all of that was already provided by the universe. All I'm doing is giving shape to what was already here. So by arriving at the space of the perfect time, you're trusting the universe to do its job. Because we're all co-creators. Your partner is the universe. This unlimited, expanding, omnipotent power, ultimate amount of resources guy called the universe. If you were to start a business, wouldn't you want that person as your partner? Be like, hey, you have unlimited resources? Great, this is what I want. And he says, okay, because that's what he does. That's what happens. Okay, so are there a couple people that would like to read off their 3rd degree for me? Anybody? Okay, then I'm just gonna pick you.
Perfect. Mine says, I create a space for success, wholeness, intelligence, calm, peace, joy, happiness, just, free, fair, and successful.
And I arrive at that space.
Oh, and
at
I
the
arrive at
perfect-
that space at the perfect time.
Beautiful. How does that feel?
That's good.
Now, if you were to operate from that space all the time, what do you think the results of your life would look like?
Better grades.
There you go. What do you think the whole world would be able to do if we could shift out of this space, right? War, this is where war comes from. This is where violence comes from. This is where not fun stuff comes from. But if we can shift into a space of love in any instance, then we can create miracles. Because that's where they come from. That's where possibilities come from. It's not from here, but here. Because what you'll find here are a bunch of what's the word? Polarities. You'll find polarities here, okay? I've met millions of people in my life, and I don't know any of them that are angry people. They show up as angry people, and they get into the space of anger. But what I promise you is that underneath it all, this is who they are. And this is who all of us are. This is who we are. We are success and wholeness and intelligence and peace and joy and happiness. That's literally what we're created to be. But we fall into this as we interact with the world. Okay, so I'm not teaching you anything. All I'm doing is reminding you of what you already are. And what happens is that people believe the mistruth. They actually internalize this and say, man, I'm angry. I'm this person. I'm a bad person. Blah, blah, blah. Not the case. Not true. You're just experiencing negative energy. Who you are is this, love. Does anybody see any other dualities? What else do we see here? Positive and negative.
Right, wrong.
Sorry, negative, positive. What else?
Right, wrong.
Have you ever seen children act like this? Have you? Have you seen children have wholeness, intelligence, calm, peace, joy, happiness, and be just to each other naturally without coaching? That's how you know that's who we are. That's where we come from. Have you seen adults act like this? Which is funny because we call children children, but adults are the ones who act like children. We're the ones that can't resolve our stuff. Yet, because we have experience, we're greater than them. But what we forget is the most important thing. This is how I see people all over the world. And this is how they see themselves. And it kills me. Okay, so under this, you're going to put your checkpoint, okay? And you're literally going to draw a box. And you're going to note the second that you have felt shift, okay? So as soon as you have felt, oh, and I like to write thank you across this, okay? Thank you for showing up in my life to teach me or show me something that I didn't see before. In this space, you will literally document a physical manifestation. Okay? So you say your third degree out loud, and you give it time. You put it aside, you let it do its thing. So, is feeling better a physical manifestation? I mean, you guys are doctors, right? Nurses? I mean, isn't there trackable chemical change in the brain? Electrical signals, doesn't all that physiology change whether you're in a good or a bad mood? Right? I'm asking you guys, are the experts. Okay? So that's physical proof that this works. What's really going to freak you out is when the external shows up. Okay, a couple of stories. One time, I was living with this lady in Salt Lake, and she was pretty well off. I lived in the basement. It was awesome. I had my own theater, had a bar. I don't drink, but you know, just in case. Just wanted to fall off the wagon. So she lost $6,000 in cash. She swore she had put it on the bathroom counter. She went to Noodles and Company and came back and it was gone. Okay? Well, the babysitter was there watching the kids, okay, because they were going to go out to, I think it was like the Shania Twain concert. No, it was Adele, the Adele concert. So anyway, she freaks out, calls the cops, calls me and says, Zoe, what do I do? And I say, let's process this. And she's like, huh, maybe not. I was like, all right, go ahead. So, let's see, about 3 or 4 hours go by and she's looking and she's looking and she's looking. Finally she goes, okay, let's do this. I was like, great. Cops still aren't here. They don't care. So we write down, lost money. How's this making you feel? And she had a page this big, right? If you lost $6,000 in cash, wouldn't you? Even to make it even better, it's her son's money, so it's not even hers. So we process, and I say, okay, now that you're shifting into the space, or now you've created a space for this, I said, are you open to any possibilities? She said, yeah. And right then, comes down the babysitter. And she turns and I said, what would love do in this moment? What would fear do in this moment? Is fear going to accuse her of this blindly, or is love going to come from a space of trust and courage and ask her some questions calmly? You know, she'd kind of gone off over and over again about how she was just going to let this girl have it and that the cops were coming and all this other stuff. So she has her little questionnaire deal, does her little, her interrogation, and this girl is very calm the whole time and very, no, I didn't take your money, and I'll get the kids and we'll go scour the house and look for it and this and that. They don't find it. And she comes down and she looks at me and she says, well, Zoe, she says, what do you feel? And I was like, well, I'm really good with energy. I'm like, I can tell you right now, she was coming from a space of genuineness. And it's up to you if you want to have the cops come over and you want to fire and all that stuff, but it's up to you. She says, all right. So she calls off the cops. She lets the babysitter go home. She says, what are we going to do? And I said, just let the mechanics of the universe do its thing. You've already shifted. You've already done the equation. Now you just wait. She said, all right. And this is where I kind of went wrong on that one. Because then she goes, wait a second. And she goes upstairs and she starts scouring through her closet, and underneath a pile of clothes in a green box under a pink piece of mesh is her cash. Okay? So did I find her cash for her? No. Did I tell her to wait? Yeah. What happened was she did not destroy the relationship between her and the babysitter, which in a lot of places is worth more than money, right? Or relationships. What it also did was it calmed her down to this point where she could think clearly, where she remembered the kids were playing in that area. She didn't see them do it. Okay, so what could have happened, and what happens a lot of the time, is that we engage from this space and we destroy our relationships. And we're not clear about what we're supposed to do. And we don't create miracles, we create more problems. We create more things for Zoe to come and show us how to process. Okay? That's one story. Another one was when I was working with a hoarder, and her daughter was a hoarder. And I went over their houses. They had 30 pizza boxes for some reason, empty pizza boxes just piled up against their fridge. And there's dog feces on the floor and stuff like that. And I go and pick up Esther, and we process at 1 o'clock, and we come back at 4:30. Then I drop her off. And what had been happening for the last 2 weeks, no, 3 weeks, was that her and her daughter had been fighting about her daughter cleaning her room. So obviously there's like some hypocrisy going on there where she's saying, you gotta clean your room, and the rest of the house is trash, destroyed, black mold and all that stuff. So this to me is an impossible situation. I'm like, there's no way she's gonna convince her to clean her room. And I can see why you're fighting and all those things. But I said, I'm game, let's process it, let's see what happens. So we go through it. I bring her home. We go through it from 1 to 4:30. She hasn't spoke to her daughter. We drive up the driveway, I drop her off, give her a hug, I'm driving away, she comes running out of the house, like crying. And I'm like, what is going on? And she's like, my daughter's cleaning her room. My daughter's cleaning her room. She had not interacted with her daughter while we were gone. They had been fighting for 3 weeks. All she did was create a space for a solution that wasn't there before, because she just kept smashing her head against the wall from a space of fear. And just by shifting